Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 175. This week started off very, very slowly. I actually thought I wasn't going to get any hobby done at all this week. Just had a very busy beginning to the week. Was getting on with a lot of other things, working a lot on Tawny at the moment, and just didn't feel motivated. But towards the end of the week, the motivation started to come back, and so I got a bit done. Of course, Rosie inspired that, getting our backer to actually finish her little garage for a remote control car, so that's what you've got to look forward to. And most of the time spent in Middle Earth, again, working on the bottom table terrain, getting stuck into another couple of ideas for trees, and also the Gondor Trebuchet. So anyway, that's what you've got to look forward to. I really hope you enjoy the video. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. As I always say, I do reply to every single one of them, so don't be shy. I really appreciate you watching this video. Thank you, and I'll see you again at the end. So finally I've managed to get this to how I want it to look. It took about 4 thin coats of the brown, but I think it's looking quite nice now. And as I've said, I will be covering it over with some, with quite a lot of other greenery and what have you, so that will blend in really nicely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue it in place. I'm going to make use of my super duper grabby glue, the Moment Fix Extreme, to do that. And then once that's on and set, they'll build up around the base again with more sand and other things, just to make sure it's all blended in. But I want it to be far enough away from the wall so you can get a miniature through, and not so near the edge that it gets knocked easily. And the really good thing about this grabby glue is it grabs. As you can see, that's actually quite heavy and wouldn't stand up on its own, but the glue has enough kind of sticky that it's able to hold itself up. So I'll leave that now for a little bit to set, and then bring it back for the next step shortly. But I'm really pleased with how that tree's worked out. Haven't had time to do any more trees, but I've got a couple of ideas, potentially using toilet rolls inside of toilet rolls is one idea. I'm going to look at using expanded polystyrene as opposed to this extruded, whatever, EPS instead of XPS, the white bobbly stuff. Going to look at using that, and also going to look at different materials, not just the clay. Going to look at using the modelling compound, or maybe even just toilet roll and glue. So anyway, that will all come. And I will let that dry, and yeah, that will come, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, from having lots and lots and lots of time for this project, now I really want to get it finished, because it's rushing towards when I need to deliver this to James. Okay, so I've just explained to Rosie what we're going to do, which is we have got this awesomely coloured in stuff, and she also did an autograph which is going to go on. That's cool. And I've put that through the laminator, haven't I, love? Me. It says Rosie, doesn't it?
And that's my heart.
You drew a heart. It's very lovely.
And that's Rosie's going.
Very good, Rosie. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut this out of the laminate. So I want you, like last time we did the cutting, I want you to very carefully hold down on the ruler, and we are going to slice it out of the laminate plastic and not let the laminate move. There we are. So that's the first thing done. Oh, didn't quite cut the bit opening. So yeah, so we're going to cut this out, so we'll get that done, and then we'll bring it back for the next step very, very shortly. There we are. We'll bring it back for the next step in a minute. Alright, so that got cut out nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick the signature piece, the signature, on the back corner of the piece. So just back there. So Rosie's going to help me with this. I've got my super sticky glue, which I hope is going to work. And what we're going to do is going to put a cross like that, and a cross like that on the back. And then, very carefully, and you can help with this as well, Rosie, we will press this on. Okay, and then you squish it on, smush, smush. There we are, and hopefully that will stick. So there we are, so we've stuck on, wait a second, we've stuck on the signature piece on the back. Now, this bit is going to be a little bit more difficult, a little more complicated. So the idea I've got, Rosie, is eventually to have it standing up like this. Can you see, on the front? Or do you want it flat? Yes. Is that what you want? Okay, in that case, we can finish today. Woohoo! So all we need to do then is we want to put some glue down here. So you help me again.
Yes.
So we'll just run a bead of glue along the top, like that, and then down, and then we'll come back and we'll come down, and we'll run a bead of glue along, and then we'll stop. And what we'll do is we'll then smoosh it in place here. So, right, so no, don't press just yet. I need to make sure it's roughly centred. There we are. Right, now, smush it down. Press, 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 press. Rub your fingers over it. That's it. Perfect. And there we have it. Rosie's garage. Do you like it, love?
Yeah.
Is that awesome?
Can we bring it down?
We're going to take it down right now, and we're going to drive your car into it. How about that?
Yay!
Yay! Well done, Rosie. Now we've got to work out what to build with you next, haven't we, love?
Yes.
I've no idea.
Models.
We've got to do the models, have we?
Mine.
Your little Ben?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get back to them next, okay? High five. Say bye-bye, camera.
Bye-bye.
You're a good girl. That's dried very well. It's been left for ages. And now what I'm going to do is come along with some PVA and just spend probably a couple or 3 applications. It's not going to be immediate to build up around the base. So yeah, like I say, I'll put some sand on it, let it dry. Put some more sand on it, let it dry, and that will slowly but surely build up around the base. There's more efficient ways of doing it, but this is how I want to do this. So yeah, I'll try and count how many it takes. But it's going to be a few, I can tell you that much. So yeah, I'll let you know how many it takes. So for my second idea of how to make trees cheaply, what I've got here is this roll, which I think came from the inside of maybe some cling film or some tin foil or something. And what I'm going to do is pretty much similar to what I did with the XPS. I'm going to cut this. I have my little hacksaw, which I think is going to be the best thing to cut it with. I'm going to cut it because we're going to have a trunk going up here, and then I'm going to basically look to split it off. It's going to be, it's not going to be a massively realistic tree, but it will be good enough. What you sometimes do on these wargaming trees is you don't actually have to worry about the canopy, because if you do the tree so that it's quite tall and then just cut it off, then it's the trunk with maybe the beginnings of a split or a branch, and then just cut it off as if it's because we're not looking for realism, we're looking for playability. And that will give you the impression of a very, very tall tree, which is basically just gone above the height of the rest of the scenery and so is out of view. That's the kind of idea. Hopefully I'll explain that quite okay. So we're going to go for quite a tall tree. We're going to cut this about in half. And you can see that my razor saw is going to do that. So I'll do that off camera because that's going to be a bit noisy, a bit nasty. And then I'll glue it down to the base. And then I think I'm going to use modelling compound on this one. So we'll then build up build the rest of the bark and what have you with modelling compound, and I'll also do a little bit of a branching out at the top as well. But I'll probably do all that with modelling compound. So I'll get this cut and I'll bring it back for the next step when I get to it. My next idea is actually the one that I think has the most promise. So we'll find out whether that's accurate or not. I'm not massively unhappy with the XPS one. This is EPS, the bubbly white foam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of my hot wire cutter, the Hot Wire Foam Factory router cutter, which is just here. And I'm going to basically shape and carve, that one there. I'm going to shape and carve the material to make a tree shape, and glue other bits of expanded polystyrene or probably the white foam. I want to make use of really cheap materials to do this. The only thing that's actually going to be expensive is going to be, well, not that this was expensive, but this tool. Highly recommend you get one of these if you're working with expanded polystyrene like this. They're not expensive and they're really, really ideal. So yeah, so I'm going to shape and carve it. I'm going to use that to get a roundish shape of a trunk, and to carve out branches coming out from it. Yeah, we'll see. I've got a grand vision for this one, and then we'll need to clad it because it won't be very strong and it's going to go to a gaming convention. So I need to be able to wrap it up. So I'll probably put the air dry clay around this one as well. There may be a modelling compound, I'm not sure. The air dry clay was very, very messy. So yeah, so we're going to draw a kind of tree shape coming from some roots, and it's going to be a relatively big tree, I think. If we bear in mind that this is 28mm and that's the size of the person, this is going to be a big tree. But that's cool, big trees are awesome. We have too many small trees. And we're going to basically look at cutting this out and then build up a canopy with it, going in different directions. So not all of that will be flat, obviously. This one will be coming out towards, this one will be going away, but I'm going to be cutting it probably, I might do it with the Proxon, I might just do it with this, to cut it out in a square, flat, and then shape everything in as I'm going, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not really making much sense to myself here. So yeah, we're just going to kind of do some tree shapes, and then once we've done that, cut that out. This doesn't have to be the be all and end all, of course, but this is a start, because I can always glue more bits on and really make it have quite a full canopy, and then this will have lots and lots of leaves and greenery and what have you on it. So I'll get myself set up for cutting and bring you along in a second when I get to that. Alright, so this is going to take a little bit of time, so I probably won't film it all, but the good thing is that this cutter does just get around this foam. As you can see, I'm managing to carve this out, and so what I'm going to have to do is basically progressively shave bits off like that, because it's too deep for me to get all the way in with one cut. That's as far as I can go. But it's not going to be too difficult to do this and then carve it out like that. So there we are. So I'm going to keep doing that. I might put some music on so you can watch how it works, and we'll end up with our tree shape cut out. So yeah, it's not going to take a long time, but it certainly isn't going to be immediate. So yeah, I'll pop some music on and you can enjoy. Well, that worked really well. As you saw, I used a knife to trim off the overlay, overhang, but then I was a bit silly and I forced and pushed the wrong way and managed to break off one of the limbs. But it's not the end of the world, because I'll glue that back on. I'm going to be gluing extra limbs on anyway. It was just a bit of a catastrophe, really, in one sense. So what I'm now going to do is actually the hard part. and I'm not a massively good sculptor, but what I need to do is I need to take this, if I zoom out and pull up and turn it round, that's the base it's going to go on. I need to turn this into a actual tree shape. I mean, it's got a tree shape, but it's got a 2D tree shape, and I need to turn it into a 3D tree shape. So I'm going to need to carve away and pull away. Probably what I'll work on first is working on the trunk. So I'll try and start from here and kind of make the trunk a little bit rounded. And then once that's done, then I'll start working on the branches. But I will put the camera on slow-mo, on speed it up with music, so that you can see how it goes. And I'll pause when I've got something to say. But yeah, I've got the most hope for this idea, I think. I've made a little bit more progress on this. As you can see, I've glued it together. I did actually initially put the actual beam on upside down, which is a shame. The only thing left is the counterweight, which I'm going to let this completely dry, and then that will go in on there, and then we will be complete. I might even paint the counterweight separate. I am considering it because when it's in there, it's quite a lot of way in the way, and I should quite easily be able to prime and paint this and leave it so it can be glued together. So I might start painting straight away. But what I ended up doing basically is the little bit of rope that goes in here across and goes up. I put a bit of super glue on that, put it in there, and glued it at one end, basically in roughly the right place. And then I put the beam on and put this side piece on again, and managed to get this to glue onto the beam, and then I stuck everything else in place once that was all stable. So that was how I worked putting it together, and it wasn't too bad. It was a bit fiddly at times, but it certainly wasn't terrible. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. So yeah, probably now time to prime that once all the glue's dried, paint it, and then I'll finally assemble the counterweight in place once I've finished painting it, I think. So yeah, let's get painting. Oh, this has been a long time coming, and it's pretty good to have it. One of my first ever Kickstarter games was Arena of the Conquest. I've done a fair bit of painting and some playthrough videos on it way back in the day. And this is Tanares Adventures, which is the expansion or the follow-up or the version 2 of whatever we want to call it. And it arrived yesterday. There we are. So we're going to have a quick look at it, see what's inside. Oh, it's heavy, I can tell you. Oh, that's why it's heavy, because it's actually shrink wrapped together. So not only is it in a cardboard box, it's in plastic wrap as well. So I will extract this from the box and come back in a second when I've managed to get it out of all its plastic, and we can have a look at it. Well, there we are. It's 2 boxes. Well, what? Actually, it's 1 box. It's 1 box, but it's a huge box. Look at that. Goodness me. Right, so let's have a look, see what's in here. As the last one, I'm not going to take everything out. We'll do a proper unboxing another time. But as with the last one, we've got a very nice packing solution with cards and more cards. There, and a pretty awesome looking miniature. Look at the size of that. That'll be fun to paint. So there's going to be a certain amount of setup in terms of actually getting the box ready. We have a bunch more pop out. We've got a big plastic. What's it? And goodness me, we have a whole load of books. Look at all that, nicely ring bound. That's nice because it means you can open them up completely flat on the table. We've got some cards here. These are going to be the game card, the character cards. That's what I mean. Some starter sets. Yeah, an index on the back. That's always useful. And then inside that is just more cardboard, I think. Don't think there's anything in there. No, just cardboard to keep it nice. So yeah, like I say, that's been a long time coming. It was quite a long time ago that this was due, and this is actually only the first wave. We've got a load more of this on its way, hopefully. So I'll do a proper unboxing in a dedicated video. We'll have a look at all the miniatures and at the cards and what have you, and yeah, then we'll hopefully get some games of this. It was one I really enjoyed. I enjoyed playing Arena a lot, and Tanares apparently is even better. So yeah, we'll try and get some games on the channel as well if possible. But anyway, that's arrived. I'm pleased that's arrived, but it's the biggest box. That's a huge box. Another thing that arrived yesterday are these three from Mindwork Games. Now these have had quite a journey. They went to the UK, got stuck in customs for months. I'm not entirely sure why, because normally if things go to customs, they send me a bill, I pay it and it gets delivered, but not in this case, which is frustrating. And then they got sent all the way back to Spain, and then very kindly Mindwork shipped them again to me for free to my German address. So thank you so much, Mindwork Games. You can't knock that. Great service. So yeah, let's have a quick look at what we've got. And yeah, these will go onto the stash. So we have Bloodstone. Oh, you can't see a thing because of how bad my lighting situation is. Let me just sort my lighting situation out. It's actually a sunny day today, and I'll be back to show you these. There we go, that's better, you can see that. So we have Bloodstone, which is pretty cool. All of these are, as always, limited edition. That's number 53 of 600. And actually I'm not going to get that out because that's just going to be bits and pieces everywhere. It's got the usual kind of paper packing. So I'll show you what they look like when I come to make it. So that's one of them. Let's get the next one out. So the next one is Empathic Robots Prometheus, number 28 of 400. And that's a pretty cool diorama, isn't it? So I'll have a lot of fun making that. And finally, let's have a look at this one. We have the living legend Frank Franzetta, which is really awesome. Frazetta even. So yeah, a girl sitting with a lion or a tiger or something like that. Very cool. So yeah, that's good. That can go on the stash, and at some point will be made, and I'll be sure to bring them on the channel when that time comes. Had a small delivery yesterday or the day before, can't remember which now, but anyway, these are from warbases.co.uk, and because I lost the base for Bolg, I've ordered these. They came very quickly. I thought I was ordering one, I received 6, so that's really good. I must have been ordering 1 pack. But anyway, so now I can get cracking on painting up Bolg, who is potentially going to be one of my ArdaCon army members. But yeah, pretty happy with how quickly that came, and the fact that I got more than I bargained for, so that's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, so that'll come to the channel at some point soon. Gonna glue him on and start painting him, and then I'll base him up once he's painted. Well, there we are. As I say, it did start off slow, but I did get quite a lot done. Particularly enjoying these tree ideas. I'm looking forward to getting back to that a little bit later today after I've finished editing. I'm going to spend a bit more time, and I've got another couple of ideas to show as well. So that's going well. Enjoying that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I said in the intro, I'll say it again. I do reply to every single one of your comments, so don't be shy. And I'll wrap up by saying it's been over a year now, still going on. If any of you are directly or indirectly linked or impacted by the horrible war in Ukraine, then my thoughts do go out to you and anyone you know who might be in that horrible situation. And if anyone's wondering why they say this, I do have close friends who are impacted directly, and it means, yeah, it's pretty scary and concerning for me. So yeah, that's why I've brought that up so many times now. And to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.